Alright, hello and welcome to My Hero Academia Season 5 Episode 1 or Episode 0 or whatever the hell it is. I'm not entirely sure at the moment. It's been a long time coming, but Season 5 is finally here. This will be my first time reacting to an anime as it's airing. I've reacted to Attack on Titan manga as it's airing, but that's once a month, and I've been reacting to Hunter x Hunter, but that's obviously a show that's been over for a long time now. So this is my first time reacting to a show as it's coming out. From what I understand, this first episode is kind of following suit with what Seasons 3 and 4 did, where the first episode is kind of more of a filler recap episode rather than an actual kind of plot-relevant episode. Although it might have some plot stuff mixed into it, I don't know. I'm just saying that I don't know how much... I don't know how important this episode is going to be in the grand scheme of things, so I wasn't in too much of a rush to watch it. I just got done recording some other stuff. I've been busy all day. The episode came out like almost 12 hours ago at this point. But for future episodes, I'll try to get into it a bit quicker. I was a bit slow with this one because I know it's kind of like, from what I understand, it's a less important, more of a fillery episode, so I wasn't in too much of a rush. Oh, but yeah, Season 5 is finally out. I'm really happy to be here. It's a bit of a bittersweet moment for me because on the one hand, I'm really excited to finally be at Season 5 and watching it. I'm really happy. I'm really excited for it. I've been waiting for this for ages. On the other hand, the person who introduced me to My Hero Academia in the first place and who I was hoping that I'd be able to watch and enjoy Season 5 with, sadly isn't around anymore. So that's a shame. But I'm going to try my best not to let that ruin it for me. I still love this show, even if it kind of is a bit bittersweet for me now. And I'm going to try and, enjoy Season 5 in spite of all that, because I really do like this show. And yeah, I wasn't able to fully catch up, in that I wasn't able to sit down and rewatch the entire series from start to finish, episode by episode, because stuff in my personal life ended up taking up the focus, and I just simply didn't have the time to sit down and do that. That's not to say I didn't catch up though. I did. I read some manga chapters. I watched some reaction videos. I did my best to catch up to the best of my ability in the time I had. So my memory of the key events and the key plot points and all that is completely fine. But if I forget some small details here and there, that's why. I didn't have the time to fully sit down and watch every single episode from start to finish. I just did what I could to kind of remember the key information. But oh, actually, one final point quickly before I get into it. I just want to mention I am not going to be watching the opening or ending songs because I have no idea if they contain spoilers or not. Like I said, the person who introduced me to this show and would usually tell me about this stuff isn't around anymore. So I don't really have anyone to let me know about that. So as of right now, I don't know whether the ending or opening contain any kind of spoilers. So I'm just not going to take the risk. For the time being, I'm not going to watch them. They could be fucking the most amazing thing ever, but I'm just not going to take the risk when I don't know if they have spoilers or not. But yeah, anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into it. Alright, so that was episode 1 of Season 5 of My Hero Academia. As expected, it was mostly kind of just a fillery recap. Well, not even necessarily recap, but more just like a filler little reintroduction episode to kind of remind us who all the characters are, what they're good at, that kind of thing. Pretty much as expected, but I'm definitely glad I watched it. It was a bunch of fun. As you saw, I was smiling pretty much the whole way through. It was just a nice, fun little episode. So, before we get into the actual plot-relevant stuff, I'll go over kind of what the meat and potatoes of the episode, I guess. I don't know if that actually might be completely the wrong phrase to use, but the stuff that took up the majority of the episode. So, Aizawa mentioned that it's time to kick up classes. The classes are going to be kicked up from now on. I don't know if that's actually true or if that's just something they said in the like filler episode stuff, but if that is like a canon thing, like the episode that the classes are going to be getting kicked up a notch from now on, then I'm interested to see what's going to happen, because even up to this point, like the second class they were ever in was like team battles, right? So if they're going to be kicking it up a notch from there, I mean, to be fair, this is I wouldn't mind seeing more stuff like this, honestly, just the whole group working as a team together to overcome some kind of class test situation. It was fun to watch. So the bulk of this episode was a team class where everyone in the class had to team up and go up against the big three, where Mirio was pretending to be a civilian in need, and then the other two were villains. I'm gonna make a disclaimer right now. I am terrible with names. Like, my memory is decent for most things, but for names specifically, I just struggle so much. So, if I forget characters' names, don't think that's because I don't care. I do care. My Hero Academia is like one of my favorite shows of all time. I'm just genuinely really bad at remembering names. That's all it is. So, but yeah. So don't take it personally if I forget characters' names. I am trying. I'm just bad with names. It was a great way to reintroduce the characters. And one thing I noticed that I really liked is that they put a lot of emphasis on the less well-known characters. And I forget his name. Again, my name memory is terrible. The animal guy, the weird-looking tree guy who can speak to animals, he got a lot of focus this episode. Invisible Girl, she got a little bit of focus. Ojiro, the guy with the tail, he got a good bit of focus. A lot of the characters who kind of end up in the background a lot more kind of got a bit more of the focus this episode, which is nice. I really, that's a nice thing to see. I suppose if you're going to do filler, you might as well use it to flesh out some of the characters who haven't really gotten too much spotlight, right? I mean, I like that. It's a good choice. And I feel like the big three, though, were definitely a bit nerfed this episode, you know? I mean, I realize that Mirio is the best of the big three, but he completely decimated the entire class all on his own in that one episode. And even though I realize he's the best of the three, I imagine that an actual fight between them and one of the big three, it wouldn't be as one-sided, but it probably, you know, you get what I'm saying, right? I feel like this episode definitely nerfed them a little bit, but, you know, it is what it is, right? You can't have a 5-episode long intense battle for a freaking filler class episode, right? But yeah, it was really great to see kind of the culmination of a lot of development. We saw Momo, who in the past has really struggled with kind of taking... She's a smart girl, definitely, she's very smart, but she's struggled to kind of put that into practice. You know, when she was in the tournament in Season 2, she froze up and ended up getting eliminated in her first fight because as smart as she was, she couldn't really put that into practice in an actual battle. And then in Season 3, it was a similar situation when she was teamed up with Todoroki. She ended up kind of freezing up and not having the confidence to tell her plan, even though it was a really good plan that ended up saving the day, right? So it's great to see her take up that leadership role right away, come up with a plan, be like, okay, this is what we're doing. You guys do this, you guys do that, you know? It was great to see that. Seeing all the characters, you know, the animal guy, you know, confidence, knowing what he did, immediately sent his animals out to scout, you know, seeing everyone play their role, know what to do, and act like with such confidence, it's great to see. We also got a nice little reminder of like the situation with Bakugo and Deko. Deko, the fuck? Bakugo and Deku, where we see at the beginning, you know, they're kind of racing to get out, they kind of at each other, you know, kind of get in front of each other. It's not like it's not a heated, angry rivalry anymore where they hate each other. It's more of a friendly rivalry now. And then, of course, with Deku, he could have scored the final hit to defeat the villain, but he kind of hesitated in the last moment, which was his mistake. And then Bakugo had to come in and actually save the day and take down the villain, right? Kind of showing that as strong as Deku is, he still hasn't quite got that confidence. He hasn't quite reached that level yet, and Bakugo's still a little bit beyond him in that regards. Overall, in terms of the recap filler section of this episode, like, I really enjoyed it, actually. I enjoyed it, honestly, more than I thought I would. I didn't see any of the other filler episodes in this entire show. I skipped them when I was watching through the first time. I've never actually watched them. So I can't say how good this one was in comparison to the other ones. But what I can say is that just this one on its own, if the rest are like this was good. I liked this. It actually did a really great job in terms of like being what it was, a reintroduction. You know, it showed how far the characters have come. It actually put an emphasis on the development of certain characters like Momo, showing where they are now in comparison to where they used to be, right? It put emphasis on characters who didn't get as much of the spotlight in previous seasons, like the Animal Guy, like Invisible Girl, like Ojiro, the Tail Boy, you know, the kind of characters you might actually need to have a bit of a reintroduction to because you might not be as familiar with them because they got less of the spotlight. It put them in the spotlight a bit more, which was a good idea in terms of actually, you know, the characters who maybe need a little bit more focus. It gave us that focus, right? It showed us the characters kind of in relation to one another, how they're kind of working as a team, you know, working well with each other. It kind of jogged our memory in regards to the relationship between Deku and Bakugo, kind of where they're at, not hating each other anymore, but still got a nice friendly rivalry. honestly, as far as like reintroduction episodes go, this was really solid. Like, this was a really solid, fun little reintroduction episode. It was really enjoyable. I was smiling the whole time. Mirio is always a goddamn joy when he's on screen. I can't wait to see more of him. In terms of the kind of reintroduction section of this episode, that's kind of where it ends. I don't really have much more to say. It was very fun. I think it did a great job of doing what it wanted to do, but there's not really much more to it beyond that. You know, there's not too much substance to it, so we can kind of go past that now into the what I assume is the actually relevant, important parts of the episode, which is basically all the stuff that focused around Endeavor, right? So we get a nice little recap of the beginning of what happened in the final episode of Season 4, Endeavor fighting Nomu. He almost died in that battle. It was extremely intense. I really like the detail where he does the same pose as All Might, which is obviously a callback to All Might, right? And then Hawks comes up and is like, wow, that's the same pose. And Endeavor's like, no, I use the other arm. I really like that because I can't remember whether his arm was injured or anything during the fight. I can't remember, but assuming it wasn't injured, that might be a little thing where it's like, I'm calling back to All Might, but I'm not All Might, right? Like, I'm not doing it exactly the same as he was, you know? Like, I'm using the other arm. Kind of like I have a lot of respect for All Might, and I'm taking his place as number one, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be exactly the same as him, kind of thing. And also, it shows just how much Endeavor really was looking up to All Might, not necessarily as a my hero kind of way, but as a that's the guy I want to overtake, right? Looking at his back, that strong back of his, because he even remembered down to the detail of which hand he was raising into the air. So it really shows just how intensely Endeavor has been like paying attention to things, right? And we see the impact of that. We see in the beginning of the episode everyone talking about Endeavor, you know, Kirishima and all the other characters kind of like marking out over him, being excited. You know, you can see he's really kind of, obviously he's not taken place as the symbol, right? He's not taken that place like All Might yet. He'd need a long way to go. But we can see he's really taking those first steps, right? People are beginning to get a bit more confidence in him. They're a little bit more hyped to see him. They're like, wow, he's cool, you know? He's definitely taking steps forward now in that direction. And then, definitely the most interesting part of the episode, they're confronted by Dabi. Now, I could be wrong about this, but was it Dabi who originally made contact with that Nomu to begin with? This is what I mean when I say I remember the general plot, but I can't remember some specific details. Was it Dabi who, in the first place, kind of talked to that Nomu in like the semi-final episode of the last season? Because if it was, I could see this being a situation where he sent this Nomu after Endeavor in order to weaken Endeavor enough that he could come and have this conversation with him, right? That would make sense. But yeah, Dabi, I think it's not exactly a secret to say that he is most likely a Todoroki, right? That seems pretty clear. The way when he met Shoto in the forest in season 3, he called him out by name, Shoto Todoroki. Obviously, the similarity of fire powers, the burns on him. It's clear that I would say 95% chance he is related to Endeavor. Is he one of his children? Most likely, although the fact that he said this is the first time we're meeting is a bit weird. Maybe Endeavor had a child with someone that wasn't there for when they were born, right? Maybe it was with a different mother, perhaps. Or maybe it's a thing where it's like, even though he was one of his children, he was so distanced from him that it's like this is practically their first time meeting, right? I remember one of Todoroki's brothers said, that man is practically a stranger to me, right? So maybe he means instead of, oh, you were there, I was one of your children, but you were so distanced that I might as well have not even known you, kind of thing. Or it could be a thing where it's like, I'm a new man now, you know, I was your child, I was there, but I'm a completely different person, I'm a new man, and this is the first time my new identity is meeting you. There's a whole bunch of different things. Or maybe he doesn't even... Maybe he's just pretending. There's a whole bunch of different things as to that, but it is interesting that he mentioned this is their first time meeting, which is interesting. I'm curious to see why that is. Although if it was him who came into contact with the Nomu, like I'm remembering, I could be remembering that wrong. if that is the case, it would make sense if this was an intentional attack in order to weaken Endeavour enough that Dabby could then come and have this conversation with him. And then the cliffhanger at the end there with Dabby meeting with Hawks, or Hawks meeting with Dabby, I suppose. Whether or not that came after or before, don't know. I also like the little touch of at the end there, Endeavour's about to fall over, but then Hawks comes over and like lifts him. It kind of shows that dynamic between him of Hawks being the support, right? He doesn't want to be the number one hero, at least as far as we're aware. He wants Endeavour to be the number one hero. He wants him to become that symbol, and he's there more as support for Endeavour. So that's nicely symbolised by having Hawks come up and hold him when he's about to kind of topple over a bit. I don't believe that Hawks is a villain. I mean, obviously, who knows? You can never know for sure, right? But as of this moment, I don't think it's some kind of, oh my god, he's actually a double crosser kind of thing. I don't think that's the case at all, but I am interested to see why Hawks is meeting with Dabby, and whether or not it's happening before or after. I assume it's happening after what we saw with Todoroki there. I mean, with Endeavour there at the end. I could assuming that Dabby is one of Endeavour's children, I could definitely imagine Endeavour's whole character arc being very tied to Dabby, right? I could even see a situation where Dabby ends up maybe killing Endeavour at the end, right? That could be, if Dabby is the ultimate monster of his creation, right? Endeavour is this person who treated his children and his family terribly. And for the most part, they turned out all right. Obviously, they didn't turn out well because they're all, mentally scarred by what happened. But they didn't turn into monsters or anything. I could see a situation where Dabby is like the ultimate monster of Endeavour's creation, the utmost failure of him as a parent, where he ended up creating this villain, right? And so I could see a situation where he ends up dying, perhaps sacrificing himself to Dabby, as kind of the final stage of his, redemption as a character. I could see that kind of his demons finally catching up to him, but him acknowledging it and sacrificing himself, but kind of finally putting that past to rest kind of thing. The ultimate monster of his creation, and, really confronting that and probably dying in the process, but in doing so, kind of finally atoning for his ultimate sin of being such a terrible parent that he created this villain, right? Other than that, though, I don't think I have much to say. They didn't cover the dream sequence that Deku had at the end of Season 4, but I suppose this is a filler episode, I think, so I could see that being covered next episode, maybe. But yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed the episode. As far as recap episodes go, this was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely glad I watched it. It did a great job of reintroducing all the characters, putting some focus on the characters who needed a bit more focus, kind of jogging our memories of the relationship between the characters, how far they've come, and then giving us some nice fun action along the way, some laughs. It was a really fun episode. And then the actual plot relevant stuff with Hawks, Dabby, and Endeavour. I'm really interested to see where that goes. I can't really speculate too much on it because there's not really much information to go on. We know some basic stuff like Dabby is probably related to Endeavour, Hawks is meeting with Dabby, but he's probably not a villain or anything like that. So there's a lot of things to talk about, but not much information to speculate with. I think the furthest I can go in regards to speculation is, if I were to take a guess, I'd say I wouldn't be surprised if down the line Endeavour sacrifices himself and is killed by Dabby. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but if you told me that was how things are gonna end up, I wouldn't be surprised, right? I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen. I'm just saying if I had to make a prediction based on what very little information I have, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But yeah, I'm really excited for the next episode, but there's not too much in this episode to talk about. It was very fun. So yeah, I'll leave it there then. Thank everyone for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe if you like this, because I really want to begin creating a lot more new content for this channel in the future. I want to really grow it and move forward with it. So subscribing, I'd be really appreciative of it. I'd really love it. Anytime I see that little number go up, it makes me happy, honestly. I'm really glad to see when the channel grows. So feel free to subscribe if you like the comment. If you like the content, leave a like, go down to the comments, let me know what you thought of the episode, what you thought of my reaction, do you agree with my discussion, what do you think? Please no spoilers. Seriously, please don't spoil anything, don't leave any hints, anything like that. I don't have any mods that can moderate the comments, so if there are too many spoilers, I'll just have no choice but to just turn the comments off entirely, which I don't want to do. So please, no spoilers. But I would still be really happy to hear off what you guys think anyway. Well, thank you all for watching, and I will see you for the next episode.